Could we say thank you to the worship team one? Could we say thank you to the worship team one more time? That was outstanding. I am really glad to be here. My wife and I used to live here. Anybody here live in Rohnert Park? Oh, a ton of, yeah. Our first ever home was in Rohnert Park, okay, in the G section. And I was a youth pastor, so you never kind of knew what was going to go on. And we're newlyweds. We're in our first ever home. About 3 months after moving there, it's like 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And we hear this knock on the door. And I'm going, what the heck? And so I get out, throw some clothes on, go to the door, and these people keep knocking. And I open the door, and they said, can we shop at your garage sale early? And I said, we don't have a garage sale. And they were like, no, can we shop early? We know you have one. I said, no. So they said, well, what's that? And I walk out onto the porch and I look. There is a full-on garage sale set up in our yard. All this garbage, broken bikes, all of this kind of stuff. And it turns out, when you're a youth pastor, this stuff happens to you. The teenagers in the group and a bunch of the staff, they actually set up a full garage sale in our front yard. Put signs all over the place, and then put ads in the newspaper back then. And so we're like, we had a full-on garage sale. See, stuff that happens in Rohnert Park when you're a youth pastor. And by the way, you have any teenagers in it? Y'all here? Good. You might want to do that sometime, too, with the guy sitting right there. Now, by the way, the cool thing is we made money. I went, fine with me. I went, set up chairs. We just sat out there for about 3 hours and sold all kinds of junk and took the money. So it was great. By the way, I am really, really happy to be there. It's a special occasion. This sermon is going to be shorter than normal. Oh, yeah, thanks a lot. This will be happy to some of you that don't really like the Bible. I'm kidding. So this will be shorter because in a few minutes, a team of people is going to come here and make an announcement about something that I have never heard happening in a church, and it has never happened to any other church we have, and it will be electric. We are throwing a full party afterwards. I am very excited about this, okay? Now, so, by the way, but before that, I'm going to deliver a message on Nehemiah, and it is one verse, but it is one of the single most important verses anybody can memorize and apply to their life, okay? And let me give you the context. And by the way, it's in Nehemiah chapter 2. If you don't know what that is, open your Bible to Genesis, hang a right, go there for a while, and you'll run into it. Nehemiah chapter 2. And look up here. Everybody doesn't know they're doing this, but all of you in here, whether you're 18 or 80, everybody in here is asking one question all the time, okay? And here's the question, okay? How do I get from here, where I am now, to there, where I want to be? How do we get from here to there, okay? Everybody's asking that question. For example, how do I get from here, I'm discouraged, to there, I have hope? How do we get from here, I don't really have any good friends, to there, I've got some really great friendships? Or some people are going, how do we get from here, I'm single, to there, I'm married, okay? Or if you're married, how do we get from here, we're married with no kids, to there, we got married with kids in the house? Or you're going, we're married with kids in the house, how do we get to there, marriage with no kids in the house? Everybody's asking the question, how do we get from here to there? And it's the most important question about life. If you want to be more encouraged, have a better relationships, all of that kind of stuff. How do we get from here to there? It's everybody's asking that. You've already asked it today. Okay? How do we get from here, home, to there, church? Everybody's asking that. They're living it out, even at some really deep levels. Now, when you take a look at that kind of thing, you're going, there is no verse in the Bible more powerful on helping you get from here, where you are now, to there, God at work in your life, than Nehemiah chapter 2. Now, the setting is this, okay? The book of Nehemiah is an Old Testament book, and here's what happened. Just look up here. I'll give you Old Testament history in like 1 minute, okay? All of God's people are living in Jerusalem, okay? And they have a huge wall built around Jerusalem, and that wall is a wall of protection. And it protects them if they get attacked. Well, way over here in a city called Babylon, okay, the king Nebuchadnezzar goes, go attack Jerusalem. So the whole army goes over there. The first thing to do is knock the wall down, invade the army, but instead of killing everybody, they take everybody captive and they haul them back to Babylon. Great, both of you. They haul them back to Babylon, okay? And they are in Babylon in captivity for how long? Anybody know? 70 long years. And at the end of 70 years, they got a new king. And this king says, hey, y'all, thanks for coming. It's been great to have you as slaves for 70 years. You can go home. So they go back to Jerusalem. First wave goes back to, now job one when you get back to Jerusalem is this. You got to build a wall of protection. Because if you don't build a wall of protection, you're going to be a disaster. You have no defense. So a wave of people goes back and they fail to rebuild the wall. Ezra, 13 years later, needs another massive wave of people, and they're like, we're gonna go build the wall. They get there, they get so discouraged, they give up, and they don't build the wall. Get this, it is 92 years later. 92 years of failure, 92 years of frustration, 92 years of fear. It is 92 years later, and the wall is still down. Well, there's a guy named Nehemiah, and he's an assistant to the king. He is living way over here in a different kingdom, but he's got a heart for Jerusalem. His brothers get back from Jerusalem. Nehemiah says to his brothers, hey guys, how was it, man? Was it good? He goes, it's a disaster. The wall is down. The gates are burned with fire. The people are in disgrace. They're living terrorized lives. He goes, it is a disaster. And then Nehemiah, something happens to him, and he feels like, I'm going to go. God is calling me to go and rebuild that wall. In other words, 92 years, they have failed to get it done. One guy with hope shows up and says one verse to them, and the entire thing changes. And I'm going to put it on the screen. By the way, there's no notes this morning. Take out your phone. Don't read it for anything else. But if you want to take pictures of the screen, this stuff is powerful. If you ever need a prescription of how to get your life from lame to better, from where you're stuck to where you want to be, this is the single best thing in the Bible. And Nehemiah changes everything with one verse. Here it is, okay? The God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will what? Arise and build. The God of heaven, it's a 4-part verse. The God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will arise and build. I want you to say that out loud with me. All ready? Here we go. Oh, hey, wait a second. You guys need 11 o'clock service. You've had food. You should be awake. Here we go. Are you all ready? Number one here is the God of heaven will give us success. We, his servants, will arise and build. That breaks into 4 parts. The God of heaven will give us success. We as servants will arise and build. And it's 4 steps to a great future in any area of your life. And here it is. Number one, the God of heaven. I'll put all 4 of these up there. Go to the next slide, okay? The God of heaven, that means I'm God-centered. I'm God-centered. We'll come back to that. Second is this, will give us success. That means I'm faith-focused. Now, this is really important. He is faith-focused, not past-focused. He is faith-focused, not failure-focused, okay? The God of heaven, God-centered, will give us success, faith-focused, and I love this. And we, his what? Servants, servant-hearted. In other words, I'm not just going to sit around and expect God to do the miracle. Sometimes he's calling me to participate, but it's up there. God-centered, faith-focused, servant-hearted, and the last one is what? Future-oriented. In other words, instead of being failure-oriented or past-oriented, I'm going to be future-oriented. God-centered, faith-focused, future-oriented, and servant-hearted. Now, all I'm going to do is unpack this for a couple minutes, okay? And the first one is this. It says this, Nehemiah starts, and he starts with God. He says, the God of heaven, okay? Now, what I love, he pretty much, whatever I center my life on is gonna determine everything that happens in me and for me. Does that make sense? So I know a lot of people. I was an atheist growing up. When I was 18, I talked a guy out of becoming a Christian, which does not look good on the pastor's resume. And when you look at this, you go, wait a second, but I know a lot of Christians. We've got a ton of high school students here, a bunch of people here, really old people in the balcony. And I know a lot of people are going, okay, I'll read the Bible once in a while, I'll go to church, I'll sing, I'll say praise the Lord, then I'll walk out and I'm kind of done with it for the rest of the week. In other words, they're, quote, Christians, but they're not God-centered. Make sense? They're not God-centered. Now, here the problem is this, okay? If you reject God as the center focus of your life, you replace it with something is going to be the center of your life. Something is going to be the center of your life. Whatever you put as the center of your life other than God is going to determine everything that happens in you. So I worked on this for about a year. What are God's greatest competition? In other words, you're going to go, okay, I'll go to church, but I am not putting God in the center of my life. God has wired life up, so if he's not the center, you're going to end up being a mess, and I can prove it. Here's all the things that people become if they reject a God-centered life. Number one is this. Some people, they're not God-centered, they're self-centered. They're self-centered. And if you're self-centered, you will be what? Unhappy. I can prove it. When's the last time you met a self-centered, happy person? They don't exist. If you're not married, raise your hand. You're not married. Give me almost all of you. Okay, good. Okay, look. Say you're going, I really want a wife. I really want a husband. What are you looking for? I'm looking for a self-centered person I can marry. Nobody's that dumb. I run a company. Who are you going to hire? I'm looking for a self-centered employee. It's a disaster. It's bad for you because you'll be miserable, but you'll be so miserable, nobody wants you in their life. Make sense? So if you reject God, you can be self-centered. Or here's another one. Not that this would ever happen in California. Here it is. Looks-centered. Looks-centered. In other words, they spend, by the way, I'm sure that isn't true here, but I'm in Granite Bay, man, Ritzyville, USA, cosmetic surgery, USA. I mean, we have people that have so much cosmetic surgery, they smile and their socks come up. I mean, it's crazy there. And if your looks centered, here's the deal. You will be insecure your entire life because you're walking everywhere you're going. Do you think I look good? Do you think I look good? Do you think I look good? Do you think, it's a miserable existence. So you can be, if you reject God, you can be self-centered, or you can be look-centered. Here's the third one. Here it is. It is failure-centered. I know a lot of people, they're Christian Eeyores. Their face looks like the front cover for the book of Lamentations. And they can't even dream up something great happen because they're not God-centered and the power of God-centered. They're failure-centered, and they're so failure-centered, they can't let go of their failure lifestyle. Does this make sense? Which means you're going to be discouraged your entire life. Okay, there's a fourth one. Here it is. Self-centered, look-centered, failure-centered. Fourth one is this, others-centered. Others-centered, which means I'm going to be walking around going, do you think I'm cool? Do you think I'm cool? Do you think I'm cool? You're going to be walking around the entire thing, and you're going to be trying to please people, which means you will never get out of junior high emotionally. Which means you will be filled with anxiety the entire time because you're always worried about what other people think, and instead of pleasing God, you'll be a people pleaser, and it's going to fill you with anxiety 24/7. Anybody know what I'm talking about on this one? You bet, okay? Actual applause. Good job, man. Okay, there's self-centered, look-centered, failure-centered, other-centered. I love this next one. Some people are problem-centered. They're problem-centered, and they're disillusioned. And we should try this. Well, they got 18 problems and 18 reasons why it won't work. There's another one of this, okay? Some people, I'm sure this is not true here, but it's true where I live in Granite Bay. Some Christians, you realize, they're actually money-centered. They're not God-centered, they're money-centered. Okay? You can spot them a mile away, okay? What happens is, which means they're selfish. Churches are filled with two kinds of people. God-centered people who tithe, and other money-centered people, they don't tithe, they tip. Make sense? And if the pastor dares talk about money, Jesus talked about money all the time. If a pastor does, they get mad. They don't get mad because the pastor's talking about money. They get mad because the pastor is calling them to generosity and sacrifice instead. Does this make sense? Okay, I'll move off that one. Nobody wants to hear that one. By the way, self-centered, look-centered, failure-centered, other-centered, problem-centered, money-centered. I have two new ones, and here it is, social media-centered. Social media. Oh, applause is breaking out from people over 50. Nobody here clap. Now, you know what's it? By the way, it says bitter up there. You can take a picture of the screen if you want. I've replaced that. I'm still working on this section of this message, and here it is. When I realized this, we have a ton of kids. Matter of fact, they're all over today. All their friends are over today, and when they walk in, a lot of times I take out a basket and go, all right, everybody put the phone in the basket. We take about 1,000 teenagers to Mexicali, Mexico, the week before Easter, okay? And we collect every kid's cell phone. And you know what happened is, by the last day, every teenager come up and say, thank you for taking the phones. I actually made friends. People were actually talking to each other. They were inventing games to play, okay? Make sense? Here's the problem. If you spend a ton of time on social media, and by the way, the average person scrolls on social media the length of the Empire State Building 3 times a day. Which means this. Here's the deal. If you are social media centered, you will be madder and dumber at the same time. Okay? Now, there's a new one. It's been like the last 5 years, and it's a huge deal in California, and there it is. There are Christians, they're not God-centered, they're politics-centered. Raise your hand if you know these people. They used to talk about Jesus, now they talk about some politician, all this kind of stuff, okay? And if you're it's not even up there. If you're politically centered, you will be miserable, and I can prove it, okay? You will never be happy if you are waiting for the government to make you happy. You will never be happy, okay? And you look at this thing, and you're going, for some reason, every single thing other than a God-centered life ends with you being unhappy, insecure, discouraged, anxiety, disillusioned, selfish, madder, dumber, and miserable. God has wired life up. So he starts by going, the God of heaven. And then the second thing he says is, I love this, will give us success. Notice what he is basically saying, we will be faith-focused, not failure-focused, they have failed to rebuild the wall for 92 years. One guy comes in and he says, stop being failure-focused and start being God-focused, and everything changes. The God of heaven will give us success. I'm going to move fast. I told you this. And the third one is this, servant-hearted. I love this. It says, and we his servants. We his servants. I heard an 88-year-old guy preach a while back, and he killed it. It was awesome. And he killed it with one line. This guy's 88. He's still cool, making an impact for Jesus Christ. I mean, this guy's a big deal, okay? And he spoke. And you know what he said? He goes, I'm 88. I've learned one secret in life, and here it is. Whatever you want in life, you only get what you want if you give it. Really, he goes, whatever you want in life, you only get it if you give it. In other words, if you want more joy, the only way you get that is by giving joy to other people, and then you end up joyful. Make sense? Or, so this, if you want love, if you want people to love you, the best way for people to love you is for you to go love people, and they will love you back, and then you got great relationships, okay? If you want kindness, be kind to people. By the way, nobody's kind these days. Would you all agree? Go on social media, okay? If you want, he said, whatever you want in life, you've got to give. We, his servants. And the last one is this, will arise and build, and that is future-oriented. That's future-oriented. Can we put those 4 things back up? God-centered, faith-focused, future. And I'm going to wrap this up, and then we're going to bring some guys on stage here, because there's something we're going to announce that is future-changing for this church in some great ways. I wrote a book years ago on hope. Okay, it took 7 years to write it. It's called Hope Quotient. And I wrote this book. And then so I sort of became the guy that speaks on hope all over the place. And this is embarrassing to admit, but at one point I lost hope. And I can tell you the exact day it started. Raise your hand if you remember the Sunday afternoon where COVID shut the world down. Raise your hand. You remember that? Where were you? Almost everybody knows where they were. I was in Southern California in a backyard, And I'm watching this thing. Coachella pulled the plug. The tennis tournament down there pulled the plug in Palm Springs. Major League Sports pulled all the plugs. And I realized, oh, crud. We have a conference called Thrive. Y'all ought to get up to it. It's amazing. It's late April. And we have about somewhere almost 4,000 people from all around the world and come to this conference. Teenagers cut school in Jesus' name and come to this conference. This thing, we have CEOs, we have moms, dads. The entire conference is getting inspired so that you can love and lead better. And it's amazing. We have about 80 different speakers, bands, comedians, all of this stuff happens. And it's a 2-day thing just blows sky high. And it filled up, so we launched one in Southern California in Palm Springs, and that one fills up. So we had 4,000 people at Granite Bay, and then down in Palm Springs, we had to cut it off at 2,000 because of the size of the building. And these things are packed. It just sold out, and I get on, and I realize we have to cancel it. So I call our senior staff. We all get on a phone call together, and I tell them what happened, and we say, we can't do it. Let's pull the plug. So we pull the plug on the conference. And this is embarrassing to tell you all, but I get really discouraged. And I wrote a book on hope, so now I was a mess. And it was day after day after day after day. And my poor wife, she's got to live with this negative jerk, and I'm not bouncing back. And usually I can bounce back from that stuff, but I'm not bouncing back. So what happens is we go out, and finally, about, a week into this thing, let me tell you why I was discouraged. I know what happens to people at this conference. I know what happens, and I know they need this stuff. And it basically, everybody catches fresh vision from God, gets free from their past and their future, and they can dream some. And I know what happens. I'm just really bummed out, and it lasts for a while, and I'm grouchy and miserable and negative. And I finally go, okay, I'm done. So I take this Bible, and I take this notebook, and I grab a pen, and I go out in the backyard, and I go, okay, God, I'm staying here till somehow I bounce back. And I start reading my Bible. I start reading all the promises of God in the Bible, and I'm out there, and I'm going, COVID is starting. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I know there's going to be bad. And so as I start reading, and about 15, maybe 20 minutes into it, it's like God zapped me. The promises of God got to me, and then here's what God said to me, and it changed my life. God said to me, if you will let go of discouragement. Y'all with me? If you will let go of discouragement and replace it with dreaming, the world just might be a better place. If you will let go of discouragement and replace it with big dreams, God-sized dreams, your world, the world, just might be in a better place. It was crystal clear. If you will let go of discouragement, I always thought, let go of discouragement, replace it. He said, no, if you will let go of discouragement and replace it with dreaming. I actually took the pen, I wrote down, if you will let go of discouragement and replace it with dreaming, the world just might be a better place. By the way, that is true for all people at all time. It's true for you, it's true for everybody in there. If you will let go of discouragement and replace it with dreaming, the world. So I actually then went, okay, what am I discouraged about? Canceling these life-changing conferences. And then God said, well, let go of discouragement. So God said, dream. And I went, okay, I'm going for it because God, you're a big God. Here we go. And I wrote down this exact phrase. I wrote it down. I said, what if we launched the largest ever, completely online, totally free, so anybody can come, Christian leadership conference in history? And what if we asked every great communicator on planet Earth to speak at this thing for free and didn't pay anybody? And what if we raised $1 million at this conference for kids who are going to be hurt by COVID? And what if we do it all in 6 weeks from now when the original conference started? Well, our staff is going to have to make this happen. So I called a staff meeting, got on Zoom, and I told them what happened. I read them, what if we, and because here's the deal. If you're a leader, 1 step ahead, you're the leader. 10 steps ahead, you're the target. So I went, they got to have buy-in. So I said this, and our whole staff went, yes, let's do it. And it was a 6-week track race. We built an entire set at Bayside and Granite Bay, okay? It looked like an ESPN studio. We had stations here, cool stuff behind it. It looked like a lit studio. We built a studio over there that we could cut to. We had 3 different studios in this thing, built the entire thing in 6 weeks. We sent invitations all around the world, put it online. By the way, everybody we asked to speak for free said yes, every single person. And the day starts. And I'm at a desk, and we say, hey, hello, world. We're doing this and this and this, and here's this. Let me tell you why we're doing this, all this kind of stuff. The other people are up with me. They introduce themselves. We're all the hosts of this conference. And the problem is this. I'm looking. Remember the days you preached to a camera and people had to watch? I'm looking at the camera, and I'm going, is anybody listening? Like, is mom there? You know, I mean, are there 4 people in some living room somewhere? Are there 400 people? Is anybody listening to this? And because here's what I was hoping. Our original conference at Granite Bay that same week, our original conference had 4,000 people. So I'm going, God, I hope there's at least 4,000 people in the next 2 days, at least total, that equals that. There may be 50 people on now, but hopefully it builds from there. So, but I have no clue. And I get up and we cut to the first speaker after 15 minutes of us, and then we cut to the first speaker, which is John Maxwell, and we cut to John. So the video of that interview is rolling, and then what happens is I say into the microphone to the producer, I say, hey, is anybody watching this? And Angie, she said, yeah. I'll pass you a sheet of what's going on. I'm going, oh no, she's not answering this. This is not good, okay? And so a sheet comes down the table, and I look at this sheet, and I actually got choked up and started crying. The first line says, there are currently 242,000 individual distinct devices online watching this conference right now. Second thing in there is this. Most of these are in settings where more than 1 people are watching this. So our lowest estimate right now is there are over 500,000 people, 500,000 people currently tuned into this conference, and it's just the first hour. And then it said this, and this is mind-blowing, and the next page said, here are the countries. There were 42 countries watching this. And it is in, by the way, it's in Canada, it's in all, but you know the cool thing is this, it's in Afghanistan, it is in Saudi Arabia, it is in Jordan, it is in all these countries where Christians of the gospel of Jesus Christ can't go, and they are tuned in and watching our Christian Leadership Conference in places like Russia and places where the gospel of Jesus Christ can't go, and people are being killed for this kind of stuff. And I sat there, I looked at that, and I started crying at the stage, and I went, there is some unbelievable power unleashed in your life when you let go of discouragement and replace it with dreaming. And sometimes God shows up and creates an actual miracle. So, and the cool thing is this, there are a lot of people in this church that had some tough years there. If you've been here more than 5 years, would you raise your hand? Good. Way to stay faithful to God, your church, the Bible, and everything else, because sometimes when you hang in there and you don't give in to discouragement, God shows up and works, and that has happened. We have a major announcement to make. We got some guys that are come on stage to make this announcement, and while we're doing that, I want to show you kind of a global video of what we're all part of.
Scott oversees the whole Bayside Empire, and you got to know he has built an incredible central services team, HR, finance, just an amazing array of things. It is an incredible organization, geniusly built by this man.
That's exactly right.
I'm Scott, and I'm the old guy. He's the longest-serving children's pastor in the world. He's amazing.
Literally. Yes.
This is true.
Yes. So, if you're new around here, I want to tell you a little bit about the history of our church. It was started. Actually originally started meeting in a hotel ballroom down at Roanoke Park, eventually moved to Monroe Hall over on College Avenue, before moving into a place on Airway Drive. Now, real quick, how many of you have been here since Airway Drive? Anybody in this room? Look at that. Give them a round of applause. Come on.
Hey, hold on a second. These are, would you all stand up?
Yeah.
Stand up.
Yeah.
You're like legendary. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's good. You weren't born.
You weren't alive when that happened.
By the way,
good.
Without these people, this does not exist. So way to go. Thank you.
Yes, and when we were at Airway Drive, I was there, by the way. I think I was 11 when we left, maybe. And we had a big dream and a big vision to build a building that we could call our own. And we raised money, we did capital campaigns and all this stuff back then to build the facility that you are now sitting in. This is a 40,000 square foot building that had the vision that God would use it for incredible, incredible things. And in 2002, this building, or 2003, this building opened. I think we have some pictures of opening day. I forgot to show these in the first service. Do we have them?
That was somebody shaking hands at opening day.
Yes, that was the first day. Maybe not.
Oh, here we no.
Oh, not opening day. Okay. They'd be at the very bottom if they're in the slide deck, but if not, that's okay. So we moved into this building with high hopes, high dreams of this place and what it could do. And at the time, we took out what was the largest loan in the history of National Covenant Properties of $10 million to build this building. Now, that was only beaten when this other church came along called Bayside and built Granite Bay. So they took that title. And now, if you've been around here again for a while, we have seen both good times and difficult times. In fact, as we went through some of the darker years before we joined up with Bayside, we were struggling to make those mortgage payments. We went down to interest-only payments. We went to a couple months of no payments. And one of the things we even considered at one point was selling this building and moving somewhere else. The only reason we didn't was because anywhere we looked to rent was more expensive than our mortgage was each month. And so we kept going, how are we going to get through this? How are we going to stay alive? And really this mortgage has felt like a weight, an anchor that has kind of been holding us down, right? And the church has been growing in the last few years, and it's still been there. And would you do me a favor? Would you all just stand up? Just everyone stand up. I know.
The reason we're having you stand up is I'm not aware of any church this has ever happened.
So we got a call, and God has provided, and our mortgage is completely paid off. Come on, somebody. $4.8 million has been paid off our mortgage. We are debt-free as a church. Come on. And I want to say two things. One, that means that as we give now through our tithes and offerings, one, we still need you, okay? But everything we give is now going to fuel ministry that is happening right now in our county, around the world, and not the past. It is seriously incredible. And Ray, tell me what you told me earlier about debt-free churches.
Yeah, here's the deal. There are 360,000 churches in America. Most of them, by the way, I was watching you guys. I'm biased to teenagers. I was a youth pastor for a long time. I was watching you guys during worship. You were actually worshiping. I was watching most churches, teenagers, they don't sit in the front row, they sit in the back row, okay? Or worse, the balcony. Just kidding. And what happens is, I'm going, there are things going on here. This feels like this church is a brand new start, but there are 360,000 churches in America. Almost all of them are dead with no future. They all have a past, but almost none of them have a future. Okay? This church is as healthy and thriving as it has ever been. It's got a wider band of incredibly amazing leaders than it's ever had. And but the problem is this, there are most dead churches in America are debt-free. Most dead churches in America are debt-free. So when somebody comes along and says, what's our church's debt? I got that. It is done. 2 weeks later, this entire thing was paid off. And all that does is create an opportunity to let go of discouragement and debt. And now you get to dream some God-sized dreams because you're not handcuffed by this stuff.
Come on. And we are dreaming. We are dreaming. We can't wait to tell you about some of the things that we're dreaming up. You're going to hear about it early into the new year. Just some amazing stuff because we know that this is one of those marker points in the history of our church that we believe can be a launching pad into everything we can do from here on out. So, church, we're going to party. We've got nothing but cakes, Buntinis out there to celebrate with. We also have Fall Fun Fest training in here where we're going to tell you everything we decided 4 hours ago. And we'll have pizza and all that. So you can go out, mingle, get some Buntinis, grab some pizza, come back in for training. But go celebrate with somebody. You got something?
As soon as you're done, I do.
Okay. It's going to be a good day.
So here's the deal. Don't move. Can you guys go out now and beat everybody out there so you're there waiting for them? And you too. And what I want to say is this. When I heard about this, I was choked up because we have a lot of churches and we've had to build them in the last 20 years where people that were built 100 years ago, the thing's already paid off. Problem is, church is dead by then. This is the first ever 2 services, young people and older people in the same congregation, which is awesome, great leadership. It's the first church I'm aware of that somebody walked in and said, I got this. 2 weeks later, the church is debt-free after not being debt-free for your entire existence on this campus, which means this is really going to be fun. So raise your right hand and repeat after me. Y'all ready? Okay? God is good. God is great. God has great plans for the future. I will not go straight to my car. I will go hug some people outside, eat unhealthy food, and celebrate the goodness of God. God bless. We will see you out there.